So sometimes phones are in the back.
Good morning.
Depends on aggressive, some of them. Because they want to start to say, sometimes. The body will heal itself and will itself out.
We're recording now. Okay, sorry about that.
That's okay.
So today we're gonna talk about working with the buyer in the purchase process. So, let's say you get a call from all the marketing you did, from the previous classes and then you search for properties for them. And this is gonna cover searching properties for them as well and showing properties. But like, what do you do after you get the call from your marketing that said, with the buyer saying, hey, I want to buy a house. What, can you help me? What do I do? What are the next steps? So this is what we're going to talk about today. And the first thing we're going to cover is the intel. So what information you need to get started from them. Good morning, perfect timing, just started. So intel, that's very important. You're going to talk about your value. You're gonna talk about your value, tell them what you're gonna do for them, and how you stand out from everybody else. We're gonna talk about the search, using the information, the intel that you gathered to do the perfect property search for them. And then we're gonna discuss the offer, what documents are you gonna need, you submit the offer. And lastly, the acceptance, what happens after your offer gets accepted? You guys just go out to a nice dinner to celebrate with some champagne, and so what do you do? First thing we're going to talk about here is gathering intel. So you can send an email to the client with all the questions that you want to know before you end up sitting down with for a consultation with them, right? Just to get an idea of what they're looking for, like a little summary. And it should include names, complete contact information, phone number, email address for whoever you're in contact with, whoever the buyer is. You want to ask them, do you have a property to sell now? And what has you thinking about buying right now? You want to know what their motivation is, or the reason that they're buying. Have you purchased a home before? How familiar are you with the selling process or buying and selling process? Have you been pre-approved with the lender, or are you going to buy with cash? What are you looking for in a realtor? They might have worked with a realtor before, and they might not have. And if they have, maybe they have certain expectations. Then you're going to schedule your buyer's consultation with them.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Do you have a list of the question, like example? That's my question.
Yeah. I can email it to you guys.
Okay.
But we're going to go over the questions here again.
Okay, great.
Individually. So you're going to schedule your consultation with them. And remember, during your presentation, actively take notes, right? It shows that you're paying attention. You're not just like, okay, yeah, let's get on with it. It shows that you have a level of interest, right? Additionally, you may forget some of the details after the discussion, and it shows that you're respecting their time, right? And then you're really paying attention to them. If the meeting is here in the office, you can offer them a beverage, water, coffee, just like make them comfortable. Sometimes some agents will meet the clients at a Starbucks, coffee shop or something, just to make them a little more uncomfortable. It's a neutral location. But when you bring them into the office, it shows, hey, we're a brick and mortar place. We have an office. We're professional. We have, we're legit. There's some agents that or brokerages that just they don't have an office. They're just their own broker, and they work at a home, and just doesn't give the same presentation as what this would give. So during your presentation, review the answers to the following questions that you sent them originally. And this is what we're going to go over now. And you want to know how you prefer to be contacted. This is very important because you have different types of generations. You have millennials, you have boomers, you have Gen X and Gen Z, and all these generations. And some prefer a phone call, right? I want to talk to someone on the phone. I want to, in case I have questions. I don't want to be texting questions back and forth for an hour trying to figure out what I want, what answer I'm looking for. And there might be some people that just text me, don't call me, If you call me, I'm not gonna answer, text me, I'll text you back. Some people want email. So figure that out. And so the next question is, have you purchased a home before? Why do we want to know this? It's gonna help you to know what their understanding of the purchase process is. Have they done this before? Do they have experience? And then if they did, what was your experience like? Was it good? Was it bad? Are you working with a lender? This is gonna help you understand if, where they are in the process. Have they just decided, like, just yesterday that they wanna buy? Have they been talking about it, him and her, or whatever, just one person, two people, whatever it is? Did they just decide today that they wanna buy it, or have they been talking about it for a few months? And if they have been talking about it for a few months, maybe they've done pre-approved, they've reached out to a lender. If not, then you're gonna ask them, if you haven't been pre-approved, does this mean you're gonna buy cash? And if you wanna buy cash, how much, what's the purchase price? What's your purchase power? But if not, then it'll open the door for you to recommend a couple of different loan officers to work with. And if they do have a pre-approval, make sure you get a copy of that pre-approval letter. Do you currently have a home to sell? This is great, because if they have a home to sell, now you're gonna sell their home and help them buy a new home, right? Or it helps you, I guess, think about what your strategy is gonna be when you're helping them find a home. Do you have to sell in order to buy, or can you buy without having to sell the home right away? Or are they gonna lease out their current home and buy another home? There's a lot of things that can happen. Why buy and why buy now? This is gonna help you understand the reason, right? Is it because of work, because you're downsizing, because they just had twins and they need a bigger home? What's the reason? What are your timelines for purchasing a new home? Again, these questions all tie in together. Timelines maybe, hey, we want to move in before the school year starts for my kids. We want to get them into the school district. So if we can move in before August, that would be ideal. Right? And I mean, right now it'd be too late because August is tomorrow, but then that gives you a timeline. Or we want to move in, by New Year's Day, whatever the case may be. So it gives you a timeline. Or maybe they're just looking now and they're not going to be ready to move until next year. But they want to start getting prices, and even though we know that the prices are changing right now, interest rates might change. It's not static. For a while, prices were going up. Right now, that's not the case. So they could look different in the next year or two. You want to ask them what worries or concerns are in the back of your mind when you're thinking about buying. They might have concerns about, I don't know, what are some concerns? Can you guys think of, as a buyer, what concerns they might have when you're moving into a new place, maybe a new city, a new area? Is it kid friendly? Right? If you're a buyer, and is it safe? Right? There might be some concerns. How familiar are you with the buying and selling process? Again, this brings you back to, did they buy a house before? Did they sell a house before? And then I think one of the questions coming up is, if you worked with a realtor, what was your experience like? But you want to know what they know, what they don't know, right? If they're first time buyers, then they probably don't know anything. So you're gonna have to hold their hand through the whole process. But if they're experienced, then you might not have to do the hand holding the whole time. They probably know, oh yeah, we did this before. We know what this is. You don't have to explain this to us. And we'll ask if we have any questions, right? So how's your search been going so far? If they say that they've been looking for a few months, they've been going to open houses, it helps you understand, if they've done open houses, if they've worked with another agent. By the way, one of the first questions you should ask that I didn't put on here was, are you working with another agent? And if so, if you are, did you sign a contract with them? And if they did, you want to stop immediately, say, contact your agent. Or let me know when your contract expires and I'd love to work with you.
But what's the reason they come to you if they have a agent?
There's some people that they don't realize that they're locked in. They sign something with another agent and they just think, oh, this is just for this property they're showing me.
Oh,
And not for 3 months or 2 months or 1 month or whatever the duration is.
They don't know if they signed a contract.
Yeah. And then they just think that they could just sign one with every agent that shows them. There's some people that just don't know,
mhm.
right? And there's probably far and few in between, right? So it's just good to clear it out.
But does the current buyer contract has an expiration date? Or do they commit a certain date according to the contract?
The contract, yeah, there's a beginning and ending date, and
Oh,
it cannot
okay.
exceed 90 days.
So they know.
Yeah, but
They-
sometimes there's some agents that after the buyer signs the contract, they don't give them a copy of it, so they don't know.
Oh,
Or maybe they email it to them and they just deleted the email, and they don't know, they don't have a copy of it.
mhm.
So that's one of the things that when you get a buyer to sign one of these contracts, make sure you give them a copy of everything that they sign. They should have a copy of everything.
Mhm.
So there's no question as to what, when the expiration date is and what the commission is and so forth. Have you already looked at some homes? If so, how many have you looked at? It gives you an idea of, they probably already know if they've looked at a bunch of homes, what they like and don't like. What if we found the perfect house tomorrow? This is gonna help you gauge their readiness. Are they ready? If they say they're ready to buy now, and you ask them this question, and they say, well, we don't know, we have to think about it, and it's like, if we found the perfect home for you tomorrow, you really have to think about it? What, why? Why would you wanna think about it, The only thing you'd have to think about is what you wanna offer, how much you wanna offer. But maybe they're not sure. Another question you can ask them is, what are your 3 favorite neighborhoods and why? If they haven't decided a specific city, or if they have decided a specific city, they don't know which area yet, right? It could be the school district, whatever, or a specific school. It could be maybe they have to be a certain distance from their job, whatever the reason may be. This will help you understand what areas you can narrow it down to when you're looking. What's your favorite room in the house? This gives you some more insight as to what type of home they're looking for. If they care mostly about a great kitchen, morning, come on in.
Morning.
Then you're gonna help them find a house with a great kitchen, right? If they care more about, they spend more time in the bedroom, then you're gonna get something with a nice big master bedroom, maybe with a walk-in closet and a retreat or whatever it is. So it just helps you understand what they're looking for. Because usually when someone buys a house, it's usually like a specific room they fall in love with, or a couple of rooms, or something that they fall in love with, and you want to know what that is. How important is outdoor and garage space? Do they care for a garage? They don't have to have a garage. If they're looking for like a condo, in this situation, that'd be a condo. Some condos just have a parking space. Some of them might have a garage. Some might not have an assigned parking space or a garage. It's just shared parking. You just park wherever. If that's not important to them, okay, now your search is gonna be a little broader. But if they want a garage space, or if they want an outdoor space, maybe they're okay with a patio. Maybe they want a yard. Maybe they don't care. Maybe they're okay with the balcony. You're also gonna ask about a number of bedrooms. How many bedrooms are you looking for? Do you care how many baths? Does it have to be a specific number of baths? So when doing a search, I like to just look for a number of bedrooms. And then, so it shows me all of the listings in that neighborhood with that number of bedrooms. Because again, I can't stress this enough, is that it's agents entering the information into the MLS, the listing information. And sometimes they enter, that it says 2 bedrooms when it's really 3 bedrooms. I mean, sorry, bathrooms when it's really 3 bathrooms, but they enter 2. Or it's 2.5, but they entered it as 2, or whatever, it's always gonna be wrong. No, I'm not, wait, let me retract that, it's not always gonna be wrong. There might be some times where it might be wrong, so when you do a search, don't add bathrooms into it. Just do bedrooms, and then if they're looking for a square footage amount, you can do the square footage. But it gives you more options when you don't include the bathroom, so you can ask them if they care about size. So are you looking for a certain number of square footage? Do you want it to be single level? Are you okay with 2 levels? Are you okay with upstairs? Ask about a neighborhood. Is there a specific neighborhood you like? Is there certain amenities you're looking for in your HOA? Do you care if there's parks, if there are parks or pools or walking trails, anything like that? So the more information you get, the easier it's gonna be for you to find something for them, or to narrow it down to what they're looking for. How long do you think you're gonna live in the house for? If this is just like a step-up home, they're just gonna live there a couple of years, build some equity, sell it, and move up, okay, that's cool. Or, oh, we're gonna live here, we plan on living here until our kids finish school. Or, we don't know, we just intend living here as long as we can, until we have to move. So, again, it gives you a better idea of what type of people you're working with here. What are 3 property characteristics you must have and 3 that are deal breakers? This is a pretty good question, right? Because it helps you understand what they're not looking for. So if they say, you know what, I want a house, a 2-story house is fine as long as there's a bedroom downstairs. Okay, so now that eliminates any homes with no bedrooms downstairs. Or they can say, I only want a home with a pool. Only show me homes with a pool. Or show me homes with no pool, right? So there's certain things that are deal breakers. I don't want popcorn ceilings. So make sure you show me the homes with no popcorn ceilings. If that's the case, I don't know if not every realtor enters into the description that it's scrape ceilings. So you might have to go through the MLS, and once you narrow down the properties you want to show them, look at the pictures. If you see popcorn ceiling, okay, you gotta remove that, but you might have to do a little more research, right? And spend more time. You spend a lot of time looking at the MLS. So that'll be a little more time. And there's some buyers you might have to spend more time with than others, right? Let's see,
It's very expensive to move the upper ceiling now.
Yeah.
Because they have some kind of.
asbestos.
Access, yeah, right. That's costly.
What are you looking for in a real estate agent? Maybe they're first time buyers, I don't know, what should I be looking for in a real estate agent? And you can tell them you're looking for someone like me, right? But if they've already worked with an agent, you know, we've worked with an agent before, and you can ask them, so what did you like and what didn't you like about the agent? Or was there anything you didn't like? If so, what is it? Maybe their communication was bad. Realtors are notorious for not communicating with their clients. So keep in mind to tell the client that the criteria is not set in stone, it's gonna change, right? Because when they start looking at properties, there might be something they didn't think they liked, but once they walk through a property, like, oh, this is pretty cool, you know what? Add this into the search, because we didn't think that we would like this. So their search is gonna evolve. Let them know the process is fluid, and that any changes during the process will simply help the buyer narrow down. So it's gonna change, right? Maybe they, what's a good example of, maybe they're looking for a certain type of like wood floors, but then you show them a property that has, the engineered flooring and engineered wood, and then they're like, oh, I didn't think I'd like this, but it looks just like wood, and it's more durable and it's waterproof. Okay, let's look for that. I don't mind that, right?
Smart home is on the rise.
Smart, yeah, yeah.
There's buyers looking for features, smart features.
Yeah.
Building.
But they might not know that they're looking for that until they run into a home with the controlled, controlled climate in the house, or they can unlock their door with their phones and things like that. So after they see that, maybe they'll say, hey, find me a house like that already has that. I don't want to have to install everything. So next you want to show your value. Now that you've asked all these questions and you've done the intel on what they're looking for, now you want to show your value. So, present the client with the value you bring and what sets you apart from ordinary realtors. What sets you apart? I mean, most realtors do the same thing, right?
And how do you do that if you're brand new?
Well, I can't tell you how you're gonna do it. You have to figure out how you're gonna separate yourself. We can tell you what to do, what realtors, what you're supposed to be doing. But then you're gonna add your own little twist as to this is how, I'm gonna do this, but this is how I'm gonna do it differently, right? And you might do something differently.
Transfer experience. Some of the experience you have can be transferred to the real estate. That's what I focus on. I have experience with some other places, and I can transfer that to the real estate business.
There's a couple agents that were interior designers at one point. And so when they're showing property to their clients, they could say, oh, you know, this room, what would look really nice is if you put, you know, the couch here and you set this up this way, it's got great feng shui and we could do this and that. Now you're providing something of value other than just like, here's the home, you know, picture yourself in it. That's something that's a way that you can stand out. There's different ways, but that's just an example of one. When you're talking about your other expertise or something that you did before. So the things you're gonna do for them is I'm gonna search for the right home for you. I'm gonna show you homes that you don't want to see. Schedule and show those homes. I'm gonna schedule those homes. I'm gonna show you as many homes as we can see that day. We're gonna write up the offers, submit it, and negotiate. I'm not just gonna write up the offer and just lay down and say, hey, well, if we get countered, we're just gonna accept what they send over unless it's really good, right? And I'm gonna manage the transactions, all the forms, disclosures, I'm gonna schedule the inspections. There's some realtors that they hire TCs, then there's nothing wrong with hiring a transaction coordinator, right? But I like to be hands-on. I wanna know what's going on with the transaction throughout the whole process. If I leave that to somebody else's hands and the client calls me and asks me a question and I don't know what the answer is, oh, let me call my TC. It just, to me, that doesn't sound professional. I think there's a point though, if you have multiple transactions, you're probably gonna need a TC, right? Because you're gonna be everywhere and nowhere at the same time. So at some point, you're gonna need one, but I like to be hands-on with everything, so I manage the transactions, nobody else does. You can sit down and review the purchase contract with them and show them your ability to navigate through the purchase contract. You can sit down, this is a great idea that Richard had brought up. Take a copy of the purchase contract, say, look at how many pages this is. And just to give you an idea, this is where we're gonna write up the price, and this is your deposit, and this is what, where we're gonna ask them to pay for this, just so they can know ahead of time, like get a glimpse of what they're gonna be filling or, signing. And typically, we have the sellers pay for this and blah, 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 right? And these are the contingency periods, especially for first-time buyers, it gives them a better understanding so that when they are going to sign the offer, they're not asking all these questions like last minute. Oh, what does this mean? And before I sign it, it's like, let's sit down, let me explain to you what everything is. So they have an idea, right? Does that make sense?
And by asking them ahead of time how familiar you are with the buying process.
You might not
Kind
have
of
to
give
do
you
that.
an idea, so.
Yeah. And discuss the client, how you're gonna be presenting the offer, right? Like, we typically do this, we typically ask the seller to pay for this. If you bought a house before or sold a house before, would you like to do anything different? Did you guys do anything different that helped you out? Right, or is there a way that you prefer to do this? Because maybe you're a seasoned investor. And they probably have a strategy they use. Okay, let's go with that. Let's see if it works. Review the RPA with the client, particularly section 3, where you describe negotiating the commission. So you want to make sure that when you're showing them the purchase contract, you show them the section that even though they're going to sign a commission agreement with you, a representation agreement with you, that they're going to pay you commission, that they can also negotiate that the seller pay for your commission. That's going to be great because not everybody articulates that well. right? Agents will just say, oh, this is how much you have to pay me, but we're gonna ask the seller to pay for it. But I'm showing you on the contract where we ask the seller to pay for it. I'm not just telling you, I'm showing you. Because some buyers are like, well, if I sign this, then I'm on the hook, right? So can you put it in writing that, it's like, well, it's gonna be in writing here in the contract. I'm showing you the section of the contract where we're gonna ask the seller to pay for it.
We can ask, but if sellers say no,
Right.
it will fall back to the buyer.
Right, and it's
So
negotiation.
they will, some buyer may have the impressions like, oh, I'll ask the seller to pay for it. But then when you come back and say, well, seller didn't pay, so now, they were like, what?
Yeah, but you let them know that it's a negotiation, right?
Yeah.
And I'm gonna go negotiate that for you. Can't guarantee they're gonna do it, or that they're gonna pay all of it, but maybe they'll pay a portion of it. And then if they don't pay all of it, then Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, then we can talk about the rest of it. Maybe I'll credit you a portion of it, you want to pay the whole thing, you know, we'll talk about it after, but for now, let's try to get them to pay for it. Okay, we talked about that. And you can show them section 3. Actually, I haven't updated this. This is the first page of the purchase contract. So you can show them, like, this is where we're in the, you know, right in the purchase price, number of escrow, 30 days, and, you know, this is just an example for you guys to see.
And at what stage we show this to the buyer? And the buyer come into a different experience and a different expectation, a different.
I would take a copy of the purchase contract with you.
And first meeting or? at
Yeah,
the
because
second
you
time?
want them to sign the representation
Oh.
agreement with you, right? And you want to give them as many reasons as possible to sign with you, to sign that agreement. You show them this and you show them your ability to navigate through the purchase contract. And then also tell them, hey, we're gonna negotiate, try to negotiate that the seller pay for the commission you owe me. And maybe it'll get them to sign, right? But if it's a first time buyer, you definitely want to show this to them. Take your time with them. I mean, there's some people that just want to rush through the process when they're working with the buyer of having them sign. You're getting paid a lot of money, you know? 1%, 2%, 3%, whatever it is you're gonna get paid. You should take the time to explain it to your client. Right? Why work with me? Look at what I can do for you. I'm gonna negotiate. Let me go through what we're gonna be doing, what you're gonna be signing. And then not just like last minute, hey, we have to submit the offer right away because they have 10 other buyers and we want to be the first ones and just sign it. No, let them know ahead of time, hey, let's review this just so you understand what you're gonna be signing. And this is how we normally do it. So they're not rushing at the end and have 100 questions and not even know what they signed. Because that's what happens. Usually, the agent doesn't go through the purchase contract with the buyer until they're ready to submit the offer. And if there's probably a million questions the buyer might have, but they don't want to miss out on the home, so they're like, okay, I'll sign it. You want to make sure they understand what they're signing, and this is going to help set you apart from all the other agents. Right? There might be some other agents that say, oh, I'm going to do this for you and that for you. I'm going to credit you this, but who's saying I'm going to explain this to you before we even submit an offer, just so you have an understanding of what you're signing. So present and explain the buyer representation and broker compensation agreement. Right, this is like the listing, the listing agent and the seller, they have a listing contract saying if I sell your house, you're gonna pay me. The buyer and the buyer's agents have a similar contract. So this is like that version of the listing contract. An agent cannot take them to tour properties without signing the BRBC. So make sure you tell them, legally, I'm not allowed to show you properties, otherwise I can be fined. Explain your fees. And if they're gonna balk at like whatever you're charging, oh, you're gonna charge me? It's like, well, I'm not gonna charge you until we completely and successfully close on your home. After I do the work. What other job does someone work with you and you don't pay them to do anything until the end, right? Nobody. I'm spending my time with you. I'm explaining it to you. I'm emailing you. I'm doing research, sending you properties. I'm scheduling showings. I'm showing you the property. And what if you don't get accepted anywhere? I'm doing all the work and not getting paid. I only get paid when we close. That means I did a good job. If we close, that means I did a great job, right? Because we closed. So explain to them, if you're gonna have to pay somebody, why not pay me, right? You're gonna have to pay somebody anyway, and I'm here right now with you explaining all this stuff to you. And so also point out to them that the exclusive, it's gonna be exclusive, that means you can only work with me for these 90 days, so the contract cannot exceed 90 days. If they had signed a contract like this with another agent and it went for a year, it's not valid. So they're off the hook from working with that agent. And now they can sign a contract with you for 90 days because the other one's not valid, because they signed it for more than 90 days.
Oh, so 90 days is the period?
Well, the maximum,
Okay.
Oh, you only can send 90 days.
yes.
But
It
this
says,
is
it
the
says,
6
look, it
months.
says right there. Not to exceed 3 months.
Oh,
So if they have a
Interesting.
contract that's 90 days and they sign another one, which one remains in effect? The newest one or the oldest?
Well, they'd be on the hook for to pay 2 agents.
So both of them are valid.
It depends if it's exclusive.
After the 90 days, can you like renew it?
Yeah, you can extend it or you can
Extend it.
renew it, yeah. So that's gonna be right there, the key. You have to check the box that says exclusive. That means that they can't go with anybody else. They have to go through you
within the 3 months, right?
within the 3 months. But if it's non-exclusive, then they can work with any agent they want. So you gotta make sure you check that box that says exclusive.
Okay, I have a question. How about, well, they have 90 days. What if the process looking through homes and negotiating takes more than 90 days?
You can extend it or get a new contract.
What if the buyer wants to change agent?
Then that's their choice. That's the reason that they limit it to 3 months.
So that's their choice. Then if she walked, she find another agent, but she buying the same house.
No, there's protections on here. If it's a house that you showed them,
Uh-huh.
then I believe you're entitled to the commission because you did all the work, you showed them the property and everything, and then if it expires, then they submit an offer to somebody else.
Mhm.
There's a section in the BRDC that says that, I don't know the exact verbiage. If Rich was here, he could verbatim tell you exactly what it says.
So we do have some protection.
Yes, yeah, but you have to give them a list of properties that you showed them. So make sure you have that list of the properties that you showed them, that you email them to them.
How about listing agent, do they have a 3 months,
No,
listing?
no, they can list it for a year. I think it's not to exceed 24 months, I'm not sure. But yeah, they can list it for 8 months, 10 months to a year, whatever it is.
Carlos, I have a quick question about that.
Yes,
When you show clients homes, let's say you go out with them for 2 months every weekend, would you say at the end of the day, let's say you take them out on Saturday and Sunday, at the end of the weekend, would you say to go ahead and compile the list of the places you saw and all the places that you made available to them to see?
that
Just
would
to
be a
kind
great
of
idea.
like keep a log, right?
Yeah, that would be a great idea.
Cool. Okay, I just want to
And
see if
make
that's,
sure you keep a copy of that email.
yeah,
That's some
yeah.
places that property you showed them, and maybe within the email say, here's a summary of the properties that we saw. You said you liked this one, you said you didn't like this one, let me know if you changed your mind. And then they're gonna respond, right? So
Yeah.
there's no, when they respond, that they can say that, oh, I've never saw that property before, he never showed me that. Well, guess what? You replied to my email that says that I showed you that, and you didn't say anything then. So yeah, I think that's a good idea.
Thank you.
And then at the end, I would just, you should keep a log of all the properties you show them anyways. But at the end, even though you're sending them the email with the summary, still send them an email with the list of all the properties you show them. Just to be on the safe side.
You can have that record on showing time as well, right? If you scheduled all the appointments through showing time.
Yeah, but how do you prove that you showed them the property?
I see.
Because I can go and preview your property and then say that I showed you the property. You're gonna be like, I didn't see the property, but it's not showing time. So that means I showed it to you, right?
Yeah.
No, so yeah, so there's no way to match a buyer with showing time.
Even
So-
when we went to the open house, still, like, not through the showing from the.
I think if you emailed them the listing and said, hey, go to this open house, here's the listing information. That would count as information that you provided. Plus, they're still under contract with you, right? They might have an argument with that one, because you didn't really show it to them, but I think would they have known that the property was available and they were having an open house, if you didn't make them aware of it, that helps you, right? Make sure that after they sign the BRBC, you give them a copy of it. We talked about this earlier today, right? A lot of agents don't give a copy of the BRBC to their clients. They just have them sign it and then they keep it, and the buyer just, they don't ask about it or they forget about it, but make sure you give them a copy of it. And if you're gonna meet with them in person, have 2 copies printed out. Have them sign one, you sign it as well, sign the other one, have them sign it as well. You keep one, they keep one. If you're gonna have them sign it digitally, they have the ability to download it after they sign it. I would still email them a PDF of that. Because you don't know if they downloaded it or not. And you wanna be as thorough as possible and provide your clients with everything that they sign. So in California, showing properties without a signed buyer representation or broker compensation agreement or its equivalent can lead to a $2,500 fine and potentially jeopardize an agent's MLS access. This requirement, effective January 1st, 2025, mandates a written agreement between buyer's agent and their client for showing properties. So I don't want to get charged $2,500. I'm not even making any money until I close the transaction. So keep that in mind. When somebody says, oh, we'll sign it later, just show me the property. I would think about that right there. I know there's some agents out there that are showing property without having to sign, and then they sign it after when they're gonna submit an offer, right? But I wouldn't do it.
And this is only for buyers, right, not tenants? If you're showing a
Only for
tenant,
buyers, yeah.
Where is this, described in the law, like which section? I mean,
It's in the BRBC. It tells you in the BRBC that you're not allowed to show property without it. So necessary documentation to begin the process. So before showing them properties or sending them anything, you want to have the BRBC signed. You want the proof of funds, so they have the money in the bank to buy the house or for their down payment. Copy of their pre-approval letter. And I would not show any properties without having all this ready. If they ask, well, why do you need proof of funds in the pre-approval letter now? Because if I show you a property and you want to submit an offer, we have to have that available to submit the offer, along with the offer. And if you don't have it, it might take you 2 or 3 days to, it might, and then by then, the house could be gone. So we want to be able to submit an offer as soon as possible, if you fall in love with the house.
Carlos, I just have a quick interjection here.
Yes,
I had a client call. She said the client was interested in seeing my listing. We went and she broke out her BRBC after they toured the house. And right there at the client's kitchen table, they weren't home, but she had them sign the BRBC. So, basically she had already showed them the property, set up with me, the listing agent. At least she got the BRBC signed in front of me. But yeah, I guess it's kind of a technique some agents will use, is like you have them already on a tour, you have a nice house for them to see, nice kitchen table, rather than going over to their house and setting an appointment with them. It's a little bit sloppy, but I mean, at least you got it done, I guess. So just something I wanted to throw in.
yeah, some people will have them sign it right there at the property when they've shown them the first home. They won't sign it, they'll send out emails to the client, and then when they're ready to see a house, the agent will schedule it and then say, hey, just remember, you have to sign this before I show it to you. So they'll, like you said, they'll show up to the property. Yeah, we can't walk in until you sign this. Okay, they sign it and then they show the property right there and then. So everybody does it.
Yeah.
But this doesn't apply to open house, right?
No,
Okay.
no.
I guess that's a tactic, you know, have the client sign right there and then.
Yeah, but when the client is hesitant to sign anything right away, they'll say, the agent will say, okay, you don't have to sign it now, but when you're ready to see the first property, you have to sign it then. And then so the agent will send properties, and then, the buyer will say, I wanna see this house, okay, but remember, I can meet you there at this time I scheduled it, whatever. But remember, you have to sign this before we go in, before we walk in. In this case, they did it at the kitchen table of that house, which is strange. That's embarrassing, man, I wouldn't do that. Maybe do it on the way to the car, you know, outside, not in front of the other agent, on the way to the car, here, sign it, you know? Or
Yeah, it
maybe,
was kind of awkward for me.
yeah, maybe meet at the coffee shop before you show the property, right? Hey, let's meet for some coffee and, you know, before we see the property and, maybe meet up half an hour before. Have them sign it, cup of coffee, relax, talk a little bit, and then go see the property. You can do that. I mean, that would have been a little more professional. So what's next? After they sign the BRBC, they give you all the documentation ready to go. You're gonna do the search, right? So you're gonna search the MLS and email them properties, you're either gonna email them properties, you're gonna schedule an automatic email. And so, you remember you guys did the intel. You got all the information, you know what they're looking for. When you do the search, one of the things you're gonna wanna ask them is, I'm gonna set you up, I'm gonna send you emails or set you up an automatic email. What would you prefer? If I set you up on an automatic email, it's gonna take every listing that's within that criteria and email it to you as soon as it's listed. The first email you receive will have everything that's available, and then any subsequent email will either be a new listing or a price reduction or change of status back to active. But that's gonna show you everything that's within that criteria that we set up. Or would you like me to look through every home, every new listing every day for a specific thing, you know, that you're looking for, or whatever? Here, the reason I'm saying this is because there's some buyers out there that end up getting upset at their agent because they say, agent didn't even listen to my needs. I said I wanted only homes with the bedroom downstairs, and they're sending me all these emails. Well, guess what? They probably set them up on an automatic email, right? And the agent did not filter through, which, you know, and again, you guys have to remember, what messes with your search is that listing agents don't enter the information into their MLS correctly. So maybe they didn't enter that there's a 1-bedroom downstairs, or maybe they didn't enter that there's no pool, whatever it may be. That's why if you have one of those buyers that says, only send me homes that have this, and that, in that case, you're gonna look through every new listing every day and send them only the ones that apply. Okay, but if you have one of those buyers that says, you know what, send me everything that's within the criteria, there might be something I like that I didn't think I liked, so go ahead, just send it. I wanna know everything that's available within that price range. Then you set them up on an auto email. So you have to make that judgment call upfront before you start sending emails. Because you don't wanna be that agent that the buyer says, my agent doesn't even listen to what I want, right? And there's the complaint right there. So after they've narrowed down what homes they'd like to see, you can schedule showings. Another approach would be only send them homes that you plan on showing them, right? So you can do it a couple different ways. Here's 15, 20 listings, which ones would you like to see? Let them narrow, wait until they get to you, all that stuff, or you could select the homes that you think is something they'd like to see or buy, and say, okay, I've selected these 5 homes, I'd like to show them to you this weekend. I'm gonna schedule it, you know, let me know what you think. Go that route. Make sure that you read and adhere to the showing instructions on each listing. There's potential monetary violations associated with that if you don't. So there's times where you might be showing a property and then you see that there's one that just came on the market across the street, they just put the sign up. And you're like, oh, hey, there's one here, let's go across the street and look at it. Don't even think about it. Make sure you go into the MLS or call the sign and call the agent and see if you can show it. Don't just walk in because you're there and just show the property, oh, it's just across the street, let's do that. Agencies do that so much back then, it's ridiculous. But make sure you adhere to the showing instructions. There might be some listings that say, text the agent with your name, DRE license number, and what time you'd like to show the property, and wait for a reply or confirmation. Or some will say, go direct. You don't even have to email me or text me, just go direct. Or some that have the showing time app on the listing where you click on it, on showing time, and it shows a schedule of available times. And once you select the time, you have to wait for the agent to confirm that it's okay to go ahead and show at that time. But I would give yourself between 30 to 45 minutes between showings, because you don't know how long you're gonna be at the property. They might fall in love and be walking around and already be like, oh, this is where we're gonna put the bed, and this is where we're gonna put the dresser, and this is, and they go in the backyard and like, oh, sometimes they're there for an hour. But anyway, you wanna give yourself between 30 and 45 minutes between each listing, each showing, and then it also gives you time to drive to the next property, right? So, any questions on that?
I had a question.
Yeah.
Uh,
About scheduling?
Yeah, something about scheduling.
Sometimes the agents want to be there, the listing agents. Maybe there's no lockbox. So you have to schedule with the listing agent. Maybe they say, yeah, we don't have a lockbox there. The owner requires that I be there for any showings. So then the listing agent would have to meet you at the property, open the door for you. Let you show the property. So there's, yes,
Can we have access with MLS on our phone? Let's
Yes.
say if there's a property across the street, I want to go on the MLS to check.
Yeah.
Can I do that?
Yeah.
Or just a regular?
yeah, you can do a regular MLS search on your phone and then read the showing instructions.
Oh,
It'd probably be easier to just call the phone number on the sign,
yeah.
because you're there, and they're gonna be like, didn't you read the show instructions? It's like, well, I drove by and I just saw it,
MLS has its own app.
Yeah, there's MLS Touch, I believe, but you can just go into your browser and just log into the MLS the way you normally do. I think that shows more information than if you were to use that. That's what I do. Make sure that you have installed and subscribed to the Super E-Key app on your phone to be able to unlock lockboxes. And then before you go to the properties, make sure that you practiced opening lockboxes.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I always like really harp on people for this, or new agents for this, and try to stress it as much as possible, because you don't want to be at the property with your client and not able to open the lockbox, or not know how to open the lockbox after you've never tried to open a lockbox before. Because I'm telling you, it happens, and you don't want to look unprofessional, and it just looks, we had,
It does happen.
he went to do an open house, and he tried to open the lockbox and he couldn't get it open. And did you arrive early, at least?
I was, 15-20 minutes before.
Okay,
So then there was another lockbox that I was able to open.
Oh, I see.
But that was like a combo thing, not this.
and I think,
Yeah.
I wanna say that happened, who did that happen, did that happen to Zach? No, it happened to someone.
I called the agent, I'm like,
Zach, did that happen to you?
Did it help?
No, so there.
No, it didn't happen to me.
Okay.
Super.
It happened to someone recently too.
They didn't
But-
tell me.
So it's important that you guys, if you're showing property, you don't wanna look like you don't know what you're doing, so make sure that you practice opening a lockbox before. I have one here, so if you guys ever wanna practice, come over to my desk and I'll bring it out, and you guys practice opening a lockbox, because I'm telling you, it's just, I know how to open lockboxes. Been doing it for a long time. I was showing a lease one day, and the first time I met these clients. And so I'm at the property, I'm trying to open the lockbox, it's not opening. And I'm like, I know how to open a lockbox, what's going on here? It wasn't opening, and I'm like, I called the agent, I said, hey, your lockbox isn't working, and she said, well, it's worked for all the other agents that have shown the property, and I'm sitting there like, oh my God, what's going on here? So then I kept trying, and so I'm waiting, she said, well, I'm a few blocks down, I'll come over. And then I tried it one more time, and it opened. And I'm showing the property, and then the agent walked in. But I'm just like, and I told the tenants, I said, hey, I'm sorry, there's an issue. Lockbox isn't working, this doesn't usually happen, and so you're looking like, yeah, what's up
Yeah.
with this guy, right? He's making excuses. Anyway, it finally worked, but it happens even to people that have been doing this for a while, right?
What do you
So-
think happened?
I have no idea.
Is it a glitch maybe?
But just a little advice, if you try to open the lockbox, you put your code into the app and it beep, 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 and it starts beeping faster when it's getting ready to unlock it. It goes beep, 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 and it just gives you one long beep. And it says access key box on your phone. Then you push this tray and it pops out. Doesn't pop out, do it one more time, push it up and it should drop out. And if it doesn't work, give it a few minutes to reset itself. I would wait like 5 minutes.
Mhm.
I wouldn't try right away, because if you try right away, it's not gonna work. So give it like 5 minutes, but when you first show up to the lockbox, walk up to it, there's no blinking light. So you have to push the tray to wake it up, and then once you see the light blinking, it's awake. And now your Bluetooth is on your phone, you launch the app, enter your code, wait for it to tell you to unlock it, or to drop the box, the tray.
Do you have time to do that?
Sure,
All lockboxes work the same?
yes. So my Bluetooth is on my phone, okay?
Mhm.
And I'm gonna go to my Supra eKey app.
Mhm.
I'm gonna click on obtain key. I'm gonna type in my code.
You wake that up first?
Wake it up. See that?
Yeah.
It took two pushes and it worked. I'm glad it worked.
Yeah.
It's silly when it didn't work. So when you take the tray out, the key's gonna be in there, right? You're gonna unlock the house. I carry this with me through the showing, so I don't forget to put the key back in. Because if you put the tray back in and you hold on to the key, you're gonna lock the door after it's shown, you're gonna just walk away. But if you have the tray in your hand, you're walking away, you're gonna be like, oh, I gotta put this back in. So that's my way of remembering to put the key back. There's agents that walk away with the key and then they realize when they're home, oh my God, I forgot to put this back in. I've never done that, just,
Well, I had the experience, I had the key, but the lock was very old. I tried turn it, it never opened, and I have to call the buyer,
The listing?
the owner to open the vehicle. Because when the key is old, no, it's very difficult to open.
sometimes you just have to jiggle it a little bit or like, don't force it because it'll break.
And I've noticed with the lockbox, it doesn't, for me, it doesn't work if my phone is like on silent. Like I gotta,
Well, because you don't hear it, right?
no, but like it would say open, like on the app,
Yeah.
but the thing wouldn't fall. So I have to like, make it not on silent and
Okay, I didn't know that.
then it worked. Yeah, I don't know.
And
Okay,
usually once I use it works.
okay, good.
Thank you.
Good. All right, so let's move on. Also, exercise safety when showing properties, when showing vacant homes at nighttime. If you're gonna show a property and you're like a smaller person, you're showing the property to someone you just met. And nowadays you have to have the BRBC, so you know who they are, their email address, phone number, all that stuff, right? But before, that wasn't the case, and sometimes you meet the buyer for the first time at the property. And regardless of whether you have the BRBC or you know the person or not, whatever, when you show on the property, always leave the door open, the front door open. And just when you walk into like one of the other bedrooms or the garage or something, let them walk in. You wait by the door. Because if you walk in, now you're locked in, right? There's no exit unless you jump out the window. So let them walk into the room, you stay in the hallway, let them see the room. Garage, same thing. So, and then keep in mind where the exits are, the other exits. So, safety. So now the offer. Now you've shown a bunch of properties, they fall in love with the property, they want to submit an offer, maybe they want to submit 2 offers, who knows? You're gonna submit an offer, so tell the clients prior to making an offer that you're gonna provide necessary research to identify estimated value of the subject property. So clients are gonna ask, you're gonna ask the client, okay, how much would you like to offer? This is the asking price. Some are gonna already automatically know what they wanna offer, but some are gonna say, I don't know, what do you think I should offer? Then, what you're gonna do is, you're gonna search the MLS for comps. You're gonna go into the MLS, look for recent sales in the area, similar to to that house. And you're gonna present your findings, you're gonna say, look, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, or whoever it is. These are the recent sales, this is what they sold for. Knowing that information, how much would you like to offer? Because they have no clue what they're worth, right? But now you provided them with the information. And you can make an informed recommendation. You could either say, ask them, now knowing this, do you have an idea what you want to offer? They say, no, what do you think? You can say, okay, based on this, I recommend that we either submit higher or the lower, depending on how the market is, right? So when you're gonna write up the offer, you want to obtain a property profile from the title company. It's gonna have the seller's name. When you're writing up the offer, it's gonna ask, you know, who the seller is and who the buyer is. You already have the buyer's name. Have the MLS printout of the listing ready for reference. So when you're writing up an offer, it's gonna ask you, who's the listing agent, who's the listing brokerage, and what are the GRE license numbers. So having that handy is gonna help you when you're filling out the offer. And it's gonna have the AP number, all these things that you need to write up the offer. Then you're gonna write up the offer. Have the buyer sign the offer either in person or digitally. Send an email to the listing agent with the following subject line. This is an offer for 123 Main Street. And the attachments you're gonna include are the purchase agreement, the pre-approval letter, and proof of funds. And if there's no loan, then it's just gonna be the purchase agreement and proof of funds. And let the buyer know that there might be counter offers, there might be addendums, there might be, multiple counter offers, just so they know and they're ready for it in case that happens. You don't want the buyer to think like, yes, we're gonna get it, we just submitted an offer. It's like, no, there's a little more to it. Especially first time buyers. Any questions on this? Okay. Now the acceptance. What happens after your offer is accepted?
Celebrate.
Celebrate, yeah. Call the buyer to congratulate them. Hey, congratulations, they accepted your offer. You're gonna notify the loan officer that the offer was accepted, or have the buyer notify the loan officer and provide them with any documentation. I think they want a copy of the purchase contract. Escrow is gonna reach out to you. So when escrow reaches out to you, so the listing side is gonna open escrow. They're gonna contact the escrow company. They're gonna give them a copy of the purchase contract. They're gonna say, this is the seller's name, this is the buyer's name, this is the buyer's agent. And when escrow reaches out to you, they're gonna ask you, okay, what's the buyer's phone number, email address? And then they're gonna reach out to the buyer. So you're gonna let the buyer know, hey, you're gonna be getting an email from escrow, maybe a phone call from them. They're gonna send you escrow instructions and wire instructions to send the deposit, the earnest money deposit. And it has to be in within three business days. So. Also. Yeah, wire instructions. So. Instruct the buyer to call escrow to confirm the wire instructions to prevent fraud. So this is where a lot of fraudsters come in and try to insert themselves into the transaction. And they send a different wire instructions. And then the buyer sends the money to them, and then they get away with the money. So what you want to do, escrow gonna send the buyer the email with wire instructions. Tell the buyer, when you receive that email, call escrow to confirm the account number. Okay? You also want to email the buyer the same thing. When you receive an email from escrow with wire instructions, call escrow to confirm the account number. So now it's in writing. But you want to confirm it on the phone and via email. So there's no question that you told them. Because most of the time the buyer will say, oh, I didn't know, nobody told me. I told you twice, I told you on the phone and I told you via email. Be very careful. You're gonna need full names of the buyers. Let's see, the contact information, their marital status, how the buyer wants to take title. So escrow's gonna ask them all this stuff. Lender contact information. Escrow continued. Okay, so that what the escrow holder does, it serves as a neutral stakeholder and the communications link to all parties in the transaction. Prepares escrow instructions. Requests a preliminary title search from the title company. Request beneficiary statement if debt or obligation is to be taken over by the buyer. Complies with lender's requirements specified in the escrow agreement. Receives purchase funds from the buyer. Prepares or secures the deed or other documents related to escrow. It prorates taxes, interest, insurance, and rents according to instructions. It secures release of, what are we looking at here? Conditions as imposed on any particular escrow. Records deeds and any other documents as instructed. Requests issuance of title insurance policy. Closes escrow when all instructions of buyer and seller have been carried out. Disperses funds as authorized by instructions, including charges for title insurance, reporting fees, real estate commissions, and loan payoffs. Prepares final statements for the parties accounting for the disposition of all funds deposited in escrow. Escrow holder does not offer legal advice. So your buyer should not ask them for legal advice. It does not negotiate the transaction. There's times where escrow will get calls from the buyer or the seller, say from the buyer. And then they'll say, hey, can you tell the seller that I want them to do this? No, it's not their job. That's why you have agents. So the agents are the ones that communicate with each other on behalf of the buyer and seller. The escrow does not offer investment advice. And what's this last one here? Escrow does not notify the loan officer that the buyer's in escrow. So this is something the buyer has to do. Yes,
Who picks the escrow company?
usually the seller pays for it, selects the escrow company.
Can buyer choose?
When it's a buyer's market, yes. When it's a buyer's market, the buyer chooses escrow and title and agreements. In a seller's market, the sellers usually. Okay. All right, so during the contingency period, order and schedule any inspections. You as the buyer's agent, you're gonna have to order a physical inspection of the property on behalf of the buyer. The buyer has to pay for it. And then usually the listing side orders a termite inspection, but if you didn't negotiate that into the contract, then you'd have to order that for the buyer. You order the home warranty or the buyer orders the home warranty. Don't order it for them. Give them a phone number, give them their options, let them pick and order their own home warranty. Order NHD, usually escrow does this. Negotiate a repair request or credit towards repairs. So after you receive the home inspection, termite inspection, you're gonna sit down with the buyer, say, okay, would you like to ask the seller to pay for any of this or repair any of this or give you credits towards repairs? And towards the end of the transaction, confirm that agreed upon repairs are complete. And we're gonna show you what that all looks like. I love this thing. Okay, so acceptance is day 0. The next day after acceptance is day 1. Does that make sense? So acceptance is delivery, not when it was signed, it's when it was delivered, signed. So if my client signs it today, let's say my buyer we submit the offer, and then the seller,
Except for today.
they sign it, accept it today, but they don't email it to me until tomorrow. Delivery is tomorrow, so tomorrow would be day 0. Does that make sense? Even though it was signed today. So that's day 0. You have 3 business days to deposit the earnest money deposit to escrow, to wire the money. Does that make sense? 3 business days.
So let's use that example.
So today was acceptance
So
day.
today's Thursday.
Yeah, today's Thursday.
Okay,
So tomorrow would be 1 business day, Monday would be 2 business days, Tuesday would be 3 business days. So when you say business days, the weekend doesn't count, weekend and holidays. I think this is one of the only times that business days are mentioned, everything else is just days.
What if I don't receive the acceptance tomorrow? But the agent, the seller agent will email it me on Monday, so Monday will count as day 1.
Day 0.
Monday would be day 0, if they delivered to you the acceptance on Monday, that would be day 0.
0, and then Tuesday.
Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, so Thursday would be the day 3.
Oh, okay,
Remember, delivery of acceptance is day 0,
okay.
it's always day 0. Okay, so this is what happens, this is the life of a transaction, this is based on the 30-day escrow, based
I
on
like
the
this one.
default language on the purchase contract. So, within the first 3 days, this should have happened. The buyer proof of pre-qualification pre-approval, which you already submitted with your offer. Buyer proof of down payment, which you already submitted with your offer. Buyer deposit to escrow, 3 business days. So actually, that is business days. So it doesn't really count within the 3 days, it's just 3 business days. Buyer seller evidence to act in a representative capacity, so if the seller, the property's in a trust or an LLC or anything like that, they should have provided that information to escrow. Seller should have already ordered the HOA docs. So that should have already happened within those first 3 days. Also, now within the first 5 days, the buyer should immediately begin shopping for homeowners insurance. Let me move this up here out of the way. So within the first few days, the buyer should already be shopping for homeowners insurance. They should have already ordered the home inspection. You want to get that done as soon as possible, so you have, you can review it and then go over what repairs you want to request. The buyer or seller, most cases, the seller should have already ordered the termite inspection. And day 5, sign and return escrow holder provision instructions. So usually escrow is going to send out the escrow instructions. And sometimes they send them out a little bit later than that, depending on the escrow company. Now, as we move on, by the 7th day, the seller should have already sent out the seller's disclosures. Seller notice the property located in common interest development. Okay, so it's already, if it's an HOA, they've already ordered HOA docs. Delivery preliminary title report. So this is ordered by escrow. So the prelim should be in by then. Disclosures, if any items are transferred or leased, so that's going to be included in the seller's disclosures. If there's any leases like for I don't know, solar panels or something, that's an example.
Land, right? Sometimes land is leased also.
Yeah, but they're already going to know that, and that's going to be in the prelim as well. Let's see. Seller delivery about updated non-foreign status. Okay, that's all seller disclosures. Install smoke alarms. So the seller should have the smoke alarms and carbon monoxide detectors working condition, because if they don't, when the appraiser comes out, then they're not going to finish the appraisal until there's working smoke alarms and carbon monoxide detectors. So then, I don't know if in this case they would charge the seller for the appraiser to come back out or not. I think they changed it to that. But you want that done, make sure that that's done before the appraiser comes out, because you don't want them to have to come back again. So that should
And
be,
that's the sellers.
that's the seller's responsibility. Yeah, but you as the buyer's agent, you want to make sure that you tell the seller, hey, please make sure this is the day that the appraiser is going to come out. Please make sure this is working. And then, so that's by the 7th day, right? And now, nothing, well, I'm not gonna say nothing really happens. There's stuff that could be happening. You schedule the inspections, so maybe the inspections are happening within, I don't know, anytime between day 5 and day 10, say. Depending on when, oh, let's go back. What happened here? Okay. So the next thing on here is removal of contingencies is day 17. Using the default language of the purchase contract. Now, the seller can send a notice to buyer to perform to remove contingencies 2 days prior to the performance date. The performance date is the day 17 for this. So if the buyer on the purchase contract changed the default language from 17 days to 14 days, hey, Mr. Seller, we're gonna remove our contingencies on day 14. Then the seller can send out notice to perform on day 12, so 2 days prior. Does that make sense? But we're gonna use this example. So if the seller sends out a notice to buyer to perform to remove contingencies on day 15, and then by day 17, the buyer does not remove contingencies, the seller can unilaterally cancel on day 18. Remember, the buyer can cancel for any reason throughout this whole transaction if they have not removed contingency, and the seller can't. This is one way the seller can get out of the transaction, is by giving a notice to perform, and the buyer doesn't perform, then the seller can cancel.
Automatically.
Yes. Yes. So that's an important thing to know. When I'm in a transaction representing the seller, I like to send a notice to perform to protect the seller, to give them an out if they want to. Usually the buyer's agent will be upset. Why are you doing this? Are you trying to cancel? And they freak out. And it's like, but I let them know when I send it, hey, this is company policy, just to let you know, we send out a notice to perform, you know, or I let them know over the phone before I send it to them, just so they don't freak out. Say, hey, this is just company policy, this is what we do to protect the seller. Just to let you know.
Mhm.
Because they'll freak out. You're trying to cancel, what are you doing? Yeah, it's this whole thing. So anyway, you might have a bunch of days in between from day 0 to day 17 where you have nothing to do with the transaction. You could be marketing, farming, doing all these other things in between, right? You don't have to focus solely on this transaction because there's days where there's nothing to do. But you want to keep your buyer updated on what's going on, any information you have. And then the appraiser is going to come out sometime between that time. You're going to get your inspection report back. You want to sit down with your client, go over the inspection report, come up with a request for repairs or ask for credit towards repairs. And you're negotiating all that before you remove your contingencies. So you want to make sure you do all that before that. That gives you a little more leverage. And if the seller doesn't send you a notice to perform, and you don't remove your contingencies by day 17, what do you think happens?
Contract is.
Yeah. No deal.
No, it still lives on. It still lives on. I've closed a transaction where I was on the listing side, where the seller didn't remove contingencies throughout the whole transaction. I sent them notice to perform, notice to perform, notice to perform, notice to perform, and they never removed it, but we still closed. But if the seller wanted to cancel, they could have canceled. But I told the seller, we're too far along, it looks like it's gonna close, they're just hesitant to do the you know.
So it
remove
doesn't
contingencies.
close,
Yeah, but so, no, what do you mean it doesn't close?
like, let's say.
It doesn't cancel.
Yeah, it doesn't cancel. I'm
No,
sorry.
so the buyer can either remove contingencies or not. If they don't remove contingencies, and then what the listing agent might do is after day 17, they're like, okay, they didn't remove them. Give them a notice to perform on day 17. Or let's say day 17 passed, they didn't do it. So day 18, the seller's gonna say, hey, let's give them a notice to perform. So then you give it to them on day 18. So now the buyer has 2 more days to remove contingencies. 19 and 20, and then after the 20th day, if they don't remove contingencies, then the seller can cancel day 21.
So in that scenario, if the seller cancels, who gets the earnest deposit? Seller does or the buyer?
The buyer gets their earnest money deposit back if the seller cancels. Yeah. But if the buyer removes contingencies and then they cancel after the fact, then the seller could be entitled to some of the deposit, if not all. The deposit, and it's not to exceed 3%.
Right.
But if the buyer goes all the way, doesn't remove contingencies, goes all the way to day 22, and then they cancel for a good faith reason, they get their deposit back and they can cancel.
What would
So-
be a good faith at that point?
It would have to be something like maybe something that came out in the inspection that they didn't like there's a cracked foundation.
They already removed contingency.
No, if they haven't removed contingencies, I'm saying.
Oh,
If they have not removed contingencies by day 17, and then they cancel on day 22,
right,
they're
then it
still,
makes sense.
yeah, they can cancel as long as they didn't remove the contingencies.
Well, let's say if they did, and then later they're like, oh, there's a crack.
If they remove their contingencies and they cancel for any other reason, then they might forfeit their deposit. Yeah. So, then we're gonna carry on here through the transaction, and then 5 days prior to close of escrow is when the buyer can do the final walkthrough to either make sure that the property is in the condition it was agreed to when they purchased the property, or to make sure that any repairs that were agreed to are complete. So that's when any repairs that were agreed to should be completed by. Any questions?
Do we have a copy of this?
There.
Oh. Cool. Thank you.
Sorry about that. I meant to give these to you guys.
How about the printout for the meeting? With all the. No, this
I can
one.
email it to you guys.
Okay.
Plus, you're gonna have the recording. It's even better.
We're gonna sit there.
Is that bad?
That's just not
I
good.
consuming.
Yeah.
For me, reading it is.
Very good.
So do you guys at home have any questions?
No, good job.
I took a screenshot.
Okay. I can email it to you too.
That'd be good.
All right.
Thank you, Carlos.
Thank you,
You're
Carl.
welcome. Any questions here?
That's it?
Let's see. I'll leave this up. I like looking at this thing.
Yeah, this is good.
Is it just me or like, is it weird? All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome. See you guys next week.